وأطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم. Ulil Amr means the ruler who are ruling the people in the light of Quran and Sunnah. Sunnah is the practice of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So the Quran and Sunnah is the constitution, and the person who is exercising the power and issue the orders, that they are called laws. So the constitution is Quran and Sunnah. Wa ulil amri minkum. And the second opinion is a person who has the knowledge of Quran and the Sunnah. He is ulil amr. So a society, an ideal society, is a society in which Quran is practiced, Quran is understood, Sunnah, the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is understood and practiced. So now we come at the practical aspect. What is a practical aspect of an ideal society? You can say liberty, freedom, education, justice. These are the components of ideal society. So a person who is a member of this society, he is always an educated, dealing with the justice and accepting the justice. And he is free to speak, to raise a point, and he is a disciplined person. So for that, there are different verses of the Holy Book Quran on that topics, but without going to details. So this is, so now when the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is forming an ideal society, and that was formed when he migrated from Makkah to Medina. So what he felt, and he faced the difficulties in Makkah, and he took off and he removed and he introduced another picture of the society in Medina. Like liberty, the people were divided into classes basis on the tribal attachment, number one. Number two, basis on the capability of wealth, the capacity of wealth. And number three, on the basis of power. So, for that, the Prophet Muhammad announced that all are equal and free. The system that prevailed at that time, it was a system of slavery that was prevailing 200 years before in America, 150 years ago in Europe, and you are aware, all African, they were transported from Africa to America just to make them slave. But Prophet Muhammad took himself, like he made a slave. He made a slave a son. Although, and the people used to say that slave, Zayd ibn Muhammad, Zayd son of Muhammad. Zayd has no relation with the Muhammad in any way, but he was so close and Muhammad was so kind to him, and he was a model for his followers, and his followers adopted the same way. Although Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has not issued an urgent order to completely ban on slavery, but the steps that he has taken, ultimately it brings to the point there will be no slavery. Because if a society is given in an emergency, a different system, it will be difficult to observe and to practice the new system. So slowly, Prophet Muhammad showed himself. Then he created this situation, this love and respect in his followers. And then he made a law. If you have mistaken something, and if you could not perform your duty towards God, then you have been asked, you free one slave. Then if you could not fast, or you have broken the fast that was supposed to be observed, you have been asked to free the slave. Your fasting is accepted. So this was the way. And the second comparison in today's terms, if you have a war with some country, with some nation, and you catch some people, they are called prisoner of war, POW, and POW are kept in the prison. They are not allowed to meet the family. Even today, an ordinary person, if someone is caught in China, he cannot contact the family, he cannot see his family. Very difficult situation. But Prophet Muhammad, in spite of that, he fought more than 18 wars in 10 years. But he has kept many enemies, but they are not kept in the prison. And there is no proof or evidence of making prison or building, constructing any prison in Medina. What he used to do, he used to make a person responsible for this prison of war. And one of them was given to one family, another was given to another family, and they are kept at home. And they became a part of family. And Prophet Muhammad said, what you eat, you give them. What you wear, you give them. This was a society that justice required. If the justice required against his followers, and he announced, and the seerah and the historical evidence proves that Prophet Muhammad has given the verdict in the favor of a Jew against a so-called Muslim. So this was the society. If the justice, if a decision based on the justice required against his own people or the parents, as the Holy Quran says, then it was done. This is an ideal society, an ideal personality who is living here and fulfilling all the requirement that is needed for them. So this is the little introduction about the ideal social model. The sources of law, as I have said, for a Muslim, sources of law is God, Allah, Quran. As we believe, and you also understand, if a man, a group of men, if they make some laws, then definitely they will keep their interest in making of the laws, or they will keep the interest of their people. So, but if the source of law is a personality or a source that is consider all the people equal, it will be different. Even today, if you see any constitution of the country, the constitution of the country will explain if the Chinese commit this, he has to face this. If non-Chinese commit this, he has to face this. American, if he is involved in terrorism, he will be brought to the justice in the court of America. If non-American is doing terrorism, then he has to be in Guantanamo Bay. So this is the difference. So the source of law, if it is from Allah, who is the creator of everyone, it will be equal for everyone. Like killing a person, the punishment is killing. If a person kills others, he has to face capital punishment. So the person who is killing the second person, whether he is Muslim, non-Muslim, man, woman, he has to face. Unless if someone has some other problem, mental problem, or someone is sick, or he has killed wrongly, he want to kill an animal and the bullet kill another person, that is another issue. So in the light of Quran, they are all equal. The sources of law is in Islam, Holy Quran and the Sunnah, the practices of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And the controlling force. Controlling force are the state forces who are supposed to implement the laws without discrimination, without doing difference. So this is, but one thing has been asked. We are bound to obey Allah, we are bound to obey Prophet Muhammad, and we are bound to obey the authority, whether it is system or the personality who are acting in the light of Quran and the Sunnah. But another rule is given, لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق. There is no obedience of any person in disobedience of God. If some authority is issuing the order that is against the law of God, so we are not bound to accept it. So it means the authority is also bound to issue the order as the God has given him. So the person who is under the authority, he is also satisfied that he will not be under oppression. He will not be under some injustice. Now another topic is attitude towards the wealth. Although it is different topic. Wealth is a gift of God. Wealth is a gift of God. Wealth is the source of life. Wealth is a source or means to achieve the goals. It is not goal. It is not a purpose of life. It can be means to to achieve something, but it is not a goal to gain, to achieve it. This is the first. The second, Quran always emphasizes what you are spending, what you are consuming, it is from Allah. So the man has been said, and the man has been asked to have the faith. Whatever he is having through business, through work, through job, through opportunities, it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَنْفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ. So when one thing you keep in the mind of the people, the things that you are having, it is not yours. It is Allah's. Then God has the authority to make division or distribution in your wealth, and you will accept easily. But if you have in your mind the things that you are having, it is yours, and other person or the authority is saying, no, you take, you give us some portion of this, you may think it is wrong. It is suppression. So that is why the first step that God has made the mind of the believer, you don't consider it is yours. Because before achieving the wealth, what the sources that you have used? You have used your mind, you have used your hands, you have used your eyes, you have used your feet, you have used your abilities. It is all gift of God. It is all gift of God. So when it is the result of your mind and your efforts and your thinking and your struggle, so the source is the gift of God, so the result is the gift of God. So God has made you responsible for this wealth. You can keep, you can use, you can utilize, but there are some portion that does not belong to you. وَفِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ. And in their wealth, there is a right of a needy people, begging people. لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ. And who don't have sufficient wealth for them is the right in your wealth. So you have to give them. So Quran has given a unique name, the portion that you keep separate from for the poor people. You will not see similar word in any other religion or any other civilization. Quran has given the word zakat. There is no relation. You will see many words. Charity. This is the share of the poor. Zakat. Zakat means purification, and purification is a need of everything. If you are taking car and you clean it, and cleaning of the car is the requirement, cleaning of your body is the requirement, cleaning of your mind is the requirement, and you don't leave the house in the morning until you clean yourself. So the purification of your wealth is your need, not the need of the poor people. So if you are giving the wealth or some portion of your wealth to the poor people, so you are not doing a big thing for the poor. It is your own requirement. It is your own need. You have to clean yourself. You have to clean your wealth. So that is how it is called zakat. So zakat again is not a tax. is not a tax. Zakat is a kind of worship to God. Although it is not reaching to God, لَن يَنَالَ اللَّهَ لُحُومُهَا وَلَا دِمَاؤُهَا وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُهُ التَّقْوَى مِنكُمْ. Your money does not reach to God. But what it reaches to God, your sincerity, your fear of God. God has said, you are acting. The poor has no right to take his share from your wealth. No, it is your duty. You have been asked. If Islamic system exists somewhere, that authority is bound to collect. But if there is no Islamic system like all Muslim, non-Muslim countries like us, so we are bound to act by our own selves to separate the share of the poor and hand over to them. This is the zakat. And profit sharing versus interest. Again, this is the topic of economics. On that, I will say a few words. Only this, that any wealth that is not received or achieved on some struggle or efforts, it is not lawful in the light of Quran. You can make the wealth through wealth. Putting your efforts, struggle, it is allowed. But gaining wealth out of wealth without efforts, it is usual. It is interest, and that is not allowed. You can easily get money, wealth, out of your existing wealth, but at the same time, it would be exploitation for someone else. Someone you are not caring whether he is getting profit or not. You are concerned with your share. If this is $100, you have to give me 10% on that amount. Whether this $100 is lost by someone or whether this $100 is giving him loss or much profit, you have no concern. So Islam does not allow anything that is imbalance for two parties. Alternatively, the Sharia has given other sources and other ways of interest trading, like muzariba, musharika. It means that you are sharing profit and loss. You may get more profit than interest, but you have to share the risk. So without risk, you get the profit, it is interest. So it is not allowed in Islam. So these are few introductory words. If you have some question, I am there for a few minutes, then Brother Nual will take care.
Now it's time for your questions. Thank you, Mufti Sahib, for giving such a talk on diversified topic. Actually,
Yes.
Not on one topic, but it was a diversified topic. So, please, questions from the floor related to today's talk or in general?
So Muslim is not 1 to 10. So they would let 1 to keep over
Although in the recent crisis of world economy, the banks who were dealing the Sharia compliance product, they were saved. And I have heard many times from chief executive and many officials, and even in UK and USA, the banks who were dealing I cannot say that any bank that is purely Islamic bank, but many banks who have some portion or some product that is Sharia compliant, Islamic banking, they were saved in these crises. So they used to make business in a way that they take the money from one client and they invest on the profit sharing basis. Indeed, they look their security of the wealth and the thing, then what they gain when they give their clients basis on the percentage of the profit what they receive. So it varies time to time, project to project, but they are more successful in a way.
Are you saying earning the money without putting any effort to get the interest? Then what about the share market?
Share market.
Yes.
One latest fatwa in the share market that is, I think, the South African Mufti has issued that it is also not allowed. Some scholar has said it is allowed just like trading of the currency, or it is actually, what is a share? Share is a portion of belonging or the property or the factory that you are buying, and it can be
Fluctuating. It is fluctuating, there is a
fluctuating.
loss and gain, both are there.
So if the shares are not forbidden things like factory of the wine or forbidden things, then you can take. Otherwise, it is not allowed. Indeed, in the system of announcement of the sharing distribution, and there is something needs to be improved because they are purely not Islamic, but somehow this business can be taken. One opinion, mostly Mufti on this opinion, but one Mufti who has made the research, he declared it is against Islamic ruling. Okay? Thank you very much for bearing me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anything left?
I don't think. Okay.
Knowledge you left.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Related to last week, manners in Islam.
Yes, actually we owe you the questions
Q&A.
of the last talk that we did, manners in Islam.
Anything else in general?
In
Otherwise,
general, even today's talk.
concluded.
Because you guys have Saka, so outside the mosque always there are beggars waiting for you guys.
No, actually that is not zakah. That's Islam actually discourage this kind of system that you see on the streets of begging. This begging actually is not allowed in Islam. It's actually hurt the respect of the people. Somebody lost actually his self-respect when he begged for something. And even most of you, we don't know they are Muslims or what, because the zakat can only be taken from the Muslims and can only be given to the Muslims. But there's something else apart from this that you gives, that's donation or charity, but that is not called zakat, as Mufti Sahib said in his lecture. This purely Islamic term, that there is no other alternate words in any dictionary or any civilization or any religion you can find. Actually, it's purify your wealth. That then you reaches to near to
But
God.
in an Islamic state, there is a non-Muslim, so the zakat can also be used for that, right?
Please.
In Islam, in Sharia, we have two terminology, right? And we don't have it in English. Zakah, of course, we say charity. But there is also another level called sadaqah. This sadaqah is also translated as charity. but it's not the same when you know the Arabic language. Zakat is something you are bound to give from the total annual savings from your account. Remember, savings not from your earning. Unfortunately, taxation system in the world is based on your income. Maybe by the end of the month, your deficit of 2,000 already. Yet you have to pay the government. But the Islamic system is based on your savings. If you have $100,000 constant for one whole year, then from there you take 2.5%, and this will be handed over to the government to serve the welfare of the community, if there is an Islamic government. Since, like Muslims here, like the Imam said, since we are living in a non-Muslim world, in the country we don't have this system. So what we do, we send this money abroad to whoever in need, or even in Hong Kong, when we know there is some poor family suffering, then we try to collect and give it to them. This is zakat. Sadaqah, as Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, even removing a harmful object from a person who in a pathway is considered sadaqah, charity. Even a smile on a brother's face, if you smile, it's considered charity. So this sadaqah, if you have money, apart from the 2.5% you gave it away for the purification of the well, but still you want to volunteer. Basically, it's a volunteer charity. If you volunteer to give, Islam welcomes it. And this sadaqah can be given to anybody, not necessarily Muslims, even to non-Muslims. If you know there are somebody who's in dire need of this money, and you know this, and they are shy to ask. The one you just said, if people are begging in the street, is it because the Muslims have this concept? You see, begging, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, clearly said it, whosoever begs and makes a living out of it, he is filling his belly with the fire of hell. But the Quran gives a detailed description of people who need this charity. Quran says, when you see them in the public, they will look like well-to-do people. But in reality, they're really having a hard time. But they're so shy to ask, they may not ask. Because of self-respect. The moment you go ask somebody, it's basically you're putting yourself down. And begging is 100% completely discouraged in Islam. We're not allowed to beg. That's why in Islam, we don't expect the poor to knock at the door of the rich. It's the rich who looks for the poor and makes sure he gives it to him in private. That's what the Prophet said, the hand that giveth is better than the hand that taketh. But even Jesus Christ, the same thing. When the right hand gives, the left hand should not know. What does that mean? It doesn't mean physically, it means when you give, don't tell people. I helped this guy, I gave him $50,000, bailed him out from his problem. The moment you say this, you're destroying your good deed. And also, there's also another way Islam looks at it. If you say it, I helped this brother, I really bailed him out, and if that encourages the other person to do good, yes, without degrading the respect of that person. So these are the way Islam looks at it. And then when it comes to non-Muslims, if you are living in an Islamic state, even the non-Muslims are required to give something called the jizya, the tax. Muslims are supposed to give what's called zakat. Zakat is more of a spiritual purification. When a non-Muslim is in an Islamic state, they're supposed to give the same 2.5%, is that right, of their savings to the government of the Muslim state. Why? Because this money is for the security of the non-Muslims. Since you're living under the Muslim rule, and Islam gives